Hey guys, another quick temp here. Um, the last temp was very, very serious. Check it out. It's called Intoxicating Contract, and I mean, even the thumbnail should really give you shivers. Um, but anyways, yeah, I tried to get myself some more help. The problem is that um, the people from my school who are involved in all of this and who are now also affected by the situation of mine, um, they had no time today and they were just too busy. And also, my real life friend who has helped me so far with the legal stuff and trying to find the right people is now sick, so I'm completely helpless now. I have nothing, I can't do anything now, and I have nothing left to do anymore. I also couldn't develop the courage in this time to just not do things as I'm told. And yeah, I'm stuck. And even though I will stay in this facility for 3 weeks at least, signing the contract, I I'm basically forced to see my parents, which I cannot. I just cannot do it, and I'm totally helpless. I have no idea what to do. I can't do anything. I'm stuck, and I don't really know. I don't really know what to do. I'm like, it feels like my life isn't quite real. It all feels flat again. I'm starting to feel much worse again, and I just don't want to die. I just I just the only thing I can care about right now is surviving. I don't have the chance to enjoy anything, to be alive, to just do what people do. No, I'm stuck here, and as always in my life, I people make me suffer for already suffering. It's always been this way. It's called victim blaming, by the way. And I'm fed up of a life like this. And if I can't get a better life, I might as well have none. This is what my feelings are telling me. What my mind is telling me. Everything in me agrees that once I have to be, once I'm forced to be with my parents again by these stupid institutions here in Germany, all parts of me agree that once this happens, life isn't worth living anymore. And it's unfortunate. I don't want that. I want my life to be worth it. I know I can do so much. I know that if I stay, I can help many people. But if I can't even help myself, then what is the point in trying to help other people? because then you're just someone talking to a wall. And I don't know. I absolutely don't know what to do anymore. I need a lot of emotional support now. And if I have to meet my parents or anyone I don't want to have to deal with in my life, I will just run away. I will do what I do best. I will just run away. And the cycle will start over again, and the cycle will repeat endlessly. I don't want to have contact with anyone anymore. The thing is, the situation I have now is reinforcing my lack of trust in other people. I've been at school today not to attend to classes or anything. I've only been there so that I can talk to a few teachers who are more involved in my situation, because they are involved as well. And they actually agreed on me not having to go to school for the rest of the month, so that I can get the stuff settled down finally and once and for all. And the thing is, I don't have the energy or the time or the situation to enjoy anything here. I am supposed to enjoy my life now that I'm no longer living with my parents, but I can't. And it's messing with me. I'm done. I'm just done. If people don't care about me, I won't care about anyone. Why should I? People will betray me, abuse me, and how will I ever think well of people if the people I know and the people who ultimately make the decisions for me legally are the ones who are conspiring against me? How will I ever develop a healthy relationship to other people, to humanity overall, if I have these kinds of situations across my entire life and I get no psychological help? How can people expect from me that I can just live a life if they don't let me just have my human rights? They're breaking all of the human rights. I have the right to be treated as an individual, as a human being, to make decisions on my own that affect me, to be involved in all decisions regarding my person, and I have the right to decide who I deal with in my life and who not. I'm fed up. And this message goes to the world. I want world peace, peace in the world. We need not more, but less in our lives and our society. We overcomplicate things so much that some people see no other choice but to become bad in order to cope with the fact that they cannot deal with the very world they live in. I see how evil is created. It is created when the good stands up for itself. This is the problem. And I agree, and I argue that there are no more than 3 core problems with humanity right now. There are 3 beliefs that are keeping us away from peace and from truly living rather than just surviving. Say, chasing money so we can afford having a house and food and stuff, or perhaps just having a job so not to be treated like garbage or like a burden to other people. We're chasing so many things, it's ridiculous. We're worried about so many things, it's ridiculous. How can we live like this? And it is because of the way we've created this world. And again, I argue there are no more than 3 core beliefs that are keeping us away from living happy lives together as a strong and understanding community. The belief in extrinsion, that is, the obsession with extrinsic motivation. Perfection, the idea that there is this one state to strive towards, rather than seeking constant change and adaptation. And last but not least, certainty, the belief that we must have things figured out. I argue that all problems we have in humanity right now, may be politics, economics, psychology, the mental health crisis, everything. This everything crisis we have right now stems from no more than these 3 core beliefs that we continue to hold in our minds. And the reason we do is so we can survive. It isn't about living a good life anymore. It is about just keeping ourselves afloat. And how are we ever going to fly if we are too focused on just staying on the surface? And I like this analogy. Imagine that we are in the ocean and there are seagulls flying around in the sky happily. And you are a walrus. You basically swam away from Antarctica and you're looking for land again because you realize you cannot stay there forever on the ocean. And you chase that new land. And you just try to stay on the water. But you don't realize that you should be like the seagulls. You should be just flying around and stop worrying about reaching anything. We shouldn't chase anything. This, I think, is an analogy that clearly expresses what I'm trying to convey. That we have so many barriers and conditions and whatnot in our lives that it's just ridiculous. And you know what? We have 2 beliefs that are seemingly contradictory. One, that the world is just and if someone is suffering, it's their fault, which leads to victim blaming and to making people suffer for already suffering, which is what I mentioned before. And on the other hand, there's also the belief that life is against us and we have to defend ourselves. We have to justify everything we do, our existence, our identity, what we do, what we have, everything. Justification. Especially this shows itself in feeling like we have to justify the truth. Let me take an example that I think many people are familiar with, say fake news, where we have there's constantly this misinformation and we desperately have to try to justify what things are really like. explain and stuff and so on and so forth. You call it explanation, I call it justification. And justifying the obvious is the most absurd thing that we can do. And I argue that we are not only, we are doing this kind of justification everywhere. So many people are masking, hiding themselves, holding themselves back because they are afraid that if they just do what they feel like and act how they feel like, then they will be hurt. The fear of being hurt is the most dangerous thing to society. It causes paranoia, hate, and conflict where it's not needed. I'm not saying that discussing was a bad thing. Discussion and conflict are two very different things. Just to be clear. I also want to point out that ultimately all human beings have one goal when it comes to survival. We want to be understood. Let me take an example. I'm disgusted by the way that differences in the ways that we think and act are treated. Many people have this belief that everything must be diagnosed in order to be treated properly. I argue this is not the case and it is counterproductive because the label reinforces that we have the condition. And this causes us to be more likely to maintain the condition because this is the truth we receive. However, in order to understand someone, we don't need diagnoses. We just need to be there for people and be empathic. We just need to understand the other person and be willing to do that. This is an essential part of just being human, of being social. And I feel like it's very much missing. We need not to diagnose, but to understand. Hey, someone has the ADHD diagnosis. Hey, perhaps they just like to move more. Perhaps they have trouble focusing, but maybe they're good at doing multiple things. Then just have understanding for it and be done. Or say with me, for example, someone has Asperger's. I guess they are more sensitive to stuff. I guess they don't like this food or that food, but ultimately, who cares? The only reason that these differences are treated as if they were things that need to be labeled is that we have social values, social etiquette. We have limiting beliefs regarding what society should be like, what we should be like towards ourselves and other people. And I don't like the terms of neurodivergence. I don't like this separation that comes from gender identity. I don't like the division that comes from political views. I don't like any of that. We don't need any of that because we all have the same goal. How we achieve the goal will be different for each and every one, but ultimately each person has responsibility to help any other person achieve their goal because their goal is similar to our own goal. It is to have a happy and fulfilling life. Period. There is no more. There is nothing more. Everything else is an illusion. It's a belief. It is something that overcomplicates just being human. And I'm not asking for more. I am not asking for I'm not asking for something impossible, alright? I'm asking for something that is very well doable and something that secretly all of us want, but all of us seem to be afraid to actually implement. Why? Because the world we're currently in does not encourage change. It encourages to stay the same way. The beliefs justify themselves through their very inner logic. This is, in a nutshell, the problem that we are facing. That we have to deal with seemingly true statements, seemingly necessary things that justify their own existence through their very existence. It seems so ridiculous. And once you realize how ridiculous this is, that it's actually as stupid as it sounds, you might be able to overcome it. And if anyone here argues that I was just an unrealistic, childish idealist, then point number one, you sound exactly like my father. Please stop that. He also talks like this in politics and thinks the world's going to end. And two, okay, I'm an idealist. I strive towards the best world, towards a world that's as good as possible. Is that a bad thing? No, that's a good thing. And am I really that unrealistic? I mean, think about it. Really think about it. Is what I'm saying here really that unrealistic? And I mean, it can seem as if it was, because right now we are not in that state. However, it can be reached. And I'm confident that it can be reached. However, as long as it is not, life is made hard for everyone. We make our own lives difficult and other people's lives as well by spreading the things that are only seemingly necessary. There is a difference between social values and beliefs, and on the other side, necessities. What we need simply because we're human. We need to be understood. We need freedom of choice and action. We need safety. We need to be loved. We need to be healthy, and so on and so forth. This is what we need. Do you really think that we need money to live? Not really. You could just go out in the fields, plant a potato, and eat it. And do you really think we need laws in order to make people behave well? Because here's the thing. The only reason that laws exist is the assumption that people won't be good by nature, that they will be evil by nature, and we have to tame them to be good. And I've talked about this before. This is extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation doesn't last for long. Intrinsic motivation does. And the problem is that once we no longer feel the need to follow laws, we will break them even more strongly, so strongly that it is stronger than if there were no laws in the first place. And this is exactly what criminals do. This is exactly what people do who are so absolutely done with their lives that they see no other choice but perhaps to break the one or the other law. We see this. And don't you realize how unforgiving this is? I'm not saying that people just do literally want everything they want, because of course we need ethics. However, we now have an ethical crisis, a heavy ethical crisis. And what we need to ask ourselves is, what is useful for our society? Is religion useful? It's And for religion, especially, I am very critical towards it. The question shouldn't be whether, say, a God exists or not. That's nonsense. That doesn't matter. What matters is the question, is it useful? And I argue it is not, because it can very quickly lead to dependency, emotional dependency. It can lead to inaction. It can lead, there are some people who are inspired by it to act well. This exists. However, that is again extrinsic motivation. If you feel it in yourself, it is still extrinsic because it doesn't come from you, it comes from the religion. And so, no, it's not useful. Let me ask you, is money useful? No. You'll find so many people against capitalism, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous that we still have money in the 21st century. And I argue it is the most stupid invention that humanity has ever conducted, ever. Let's ask ourselves, what institutions are necessary? What should parenting be like, and so on and so forth. There's so many questions that we need to ask ourselves. But it all comes down to the three core beliefs: extrinsic motivation, concept of perfection, and what was the third one again? I have no idea how I forgot. I'm very forgetful recently. The need for certainty. That it was. I didn't want to say anything wrong here, yeah? And this is also uncut, so please understand. And by the way, all of my videos are uncut, unedited. The tabs are unedited. Okay, there's one exception where I did add some sound effects, but not more. But anyways, this is what I want to say before it could be that I leave this world. I wanted you to know this. That's the triangle of belief. It is kind of like the negative triangle, if you will. And I will leave it as an exercise to you to think of what the positive triangle would look like. The negative triangle has something to do with survival and the negative and beliefs. The positive triangle would be necessities. The positive and truly living. I'll leave it as an exercise to you to find the three core things regarding the positive. I will make a statement on it. However, I want you to think about it first. I want you to really engage in this topic because it encompasses everything. It encompasses our lives, the lives of the next generations, and honestly, do you know why? Do you want my honest opinion on why I think we still have environmental problems? You know, environment and stuff? Because we're stupid. Straight up. Because we are so short-sighted and so blinded by beliefs, by profit, by intake marks, progress towards some kind of perfection. There is no perfection. There is no perfection. That is an illusion. Just to give you something that might be easier to grasp. And the problem is that we are now facing a crisis of things that cannot be grasped, that are abstract. Mental health, that is abstract. You can't really feel or touch it or see it. You can't. It's something that goes on in the mind. or the environment, that is something that's so complex, no one really knows what's going on. What about inequalities, inequity? That's also so huge. There's so many facets of this that it can be hard to grasp. I realize this. However, we humans need to adapt. We need to develop a sense for the abstract. And the best way to do this, as far as I'm concerned, is to do philosophy. Philosophy doesn't mean to look through thousands of books that other people have written. That's not going to help you for the modern world. What helps for the modern world is for you to think about your life, reflect on your life, and realize how it may apply to other people's lives or to humanity in general. This is the true point of philosophy in the modern era. And the point of philosophy, I think, is to tackle the psychological question of how do we fix this mess? How do we do it? How can we achieve it in a way that is feasible and that works? Because ultimately, there's always the risk of falling back. I know it. And I don't mean it in the sense of human nature. Forget about human nature. Completely forget about it. Yes, there are certain anthropological factors. That is just human factors, but with more fancy words. But when it comes to psychology, when it comes to being good or being bad, in the sense of being ethical or being unethical, we are blank slate in that sense. We are morally a blank slate. It depends on how we are raised and what our environment is, how good or bad we become. And don't get this wrong in the sense of the bad needs to be punished. Because by punishing, we make ourselves bad and we turn ourselves into bad people. This is not the point. Have empathy with the bad, because ultimately, people who take the path of being unethical, they are really just lost. They have just lost their orientation. And no one is bad because they just choose to be or think it's cool. It's because of what happened to them deeply. And I know it can seem like it. It can seem like some people are simply born to be evil. But this is false. And this is the trap. No one is born this way. And assuming that people are born this way has terrible implications. The implication that we have to tame people to be good. Discipline, punishment and reward, again, extrinsic motivation. This is not the path. The path to take is to assume that we are born as good people, as benevolent people, and ask ourselves, what moves us away from it? And then we must remove these things from our society. We have hit a point in human history where the way to solve the issues of society is not to add things, but to remove. Make things simpler. Keep things simple. As simple as possible, but not any simpler. This is the point that I'm trying to make. And I also want to say that I don't want you to get this wrong in the sense of all people should be like this, all people should be like this. No, no, no. Plurality. Again, there exists not this one thing called perfection. There is plurality. However, having absolutely no ethical guide is also terrible. So what some of you might be asking is, yeah, universal ethics sounds like nonsense. Like, try to explain that one, please. And I can explain it. The ethic that I have developed over the course of a few years, where I've been in severe pain, I have realized that one can create an ethic that applies to all human beings by asking ourselves, what are the immediate consequences of being human? And then we can build from there. And as I at least built from there, I have developed this, what I'm sharing with you right now. I remember I had all these theories and models and concepts, and it was all so complicated. And at some point I realized, wait a moment, I can compress all of this into 3 core beliefs. And this is what I've shared with you today. But I must also admit that I might be too negative, which is why, in contrast to this negative triangle that I have crafted, I need a positive triangle, which is what I explained earlier, where I gave you the task until the next temp comes out, or until when you're ready, until when you have the solution, a solution for you at least, to find the positive triangle. And yeah, I don't want to fall into the same infinite cycles of discussion which I see so often. I want to get to the core. And once we resolve the core issues, all the issues that stem from them are automatically gone. And we can focus on what actually matters. And this is what I want. I want us all to regain focus. The focus on the quality of life, not just on allowing anyone to even live in the first place, but to actually tackle quality of life, which is something very different. And I just I just want to share this with you so that in case I might be forever gone due to my personal situation, at least I leave this wisdom for you. It might be quite cryptic, but I think the best way to understand what I mean is to discover it for yourself. And I've given you the tools for that. And with that, see you, and I will hope for the best in my own life, and I will hope for the best for the far and near future. of humanity. And yeah, let me tell you something. I have faith in you. I know you can do it. I know humanity can do it. We are very close. We are much closer than I initially assumed we were. We are very close. We are almost there. We can't throw it away now. We need to keep going. And finally discover how to resolve the issues that existed for tens, hundreds, thousands of years. And if you're interested, I can make more videos on how to apply this very basic concept onto really any issue. Just tell me what you want me to apply it to in order to gain new insights from a new perspective. Alright? Okay, now that I've clarified all of this, I might as well go and end this video.